What's up, guys? Anthony here, Empire Music, empiremusic.com. Phone number at the shop, 412-343-5299. Always excited to bring you a new lineup from the giants, the conglomerate, Fender, right? And a lot of times we show you some super high-end Fender stuff. Fender Custom Shop, American Vintage 2, American Ultras. We just had that American Ultra 2 launch a few months ago. Well, we're down quite a ways in the lineup, and we're really into something, I wouldn't say new, but it's been a long time since we've seen something with the Fender name on it, as the headstock has there, in a lineup like this. So this is the Standard Series. We'll get this right out of the way because it's the big question. This is an Indonesian-made instrument. Price-wise, it sits in between the Squier Classic Vibe and the Player II series. So we're talking classic vibes, or I probably should have done my research here and been ready here. I think they're $430 at the time of filming this. These come in at $599. The Player II series is $899, right? So there's a $300 difference between this and the Player II series, $170 difference between this and the classic vibe. So it shares a little bit more with the classic vibe than it does with the Player II, but it's a really nice way to get a Fender branded instrument. And you heard the intro, they perform pretty well. I also want to call myself out here for having two holes in my shirt, as Brent, my friend and our videographer, asked me, do you have holes in your shirt? No, they're thumb holes, so I'll show you here. I'm like either ready for sport or I bought a woman's base layer. And either way, I mean, we're gonna get through it together, we're gonna live, we're gonna learn, and we're gonna be better next time. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we won't. Either way, it's gonna work, right? So we just got back from the NAMM show, Joe, Justin, and I, and they did the unveiling for the Standard Series there. I didn't get a chance to plug them in, but I got a chance to just hold them, feel them. And they felt nice there at the NAMM show, but I was thinking, oh wow, they're obviously gonna put the best ones out on display for us dealers at the NAMM show. So I was excited, or interested, I should say, to open these boxes up and say, okay, now what's going on? Because you know me, I mean, I always say this, we are a shop, we're a Fender dealer. I make no bones about that. Our business is selling guitars, selling basses. But that doesn't mean that I don't like to operate with a level of transparency and honesty in my reviews, because if I'm not doing that, then really what's the service that we're giving our customers out there? So when I open something up and don't like it, I'll call it out, knowing that if we get something that's less than stellar on the setup wise, obviously if we get something that's flawed structurally, it's going back to the factory, no problem. But if we get something with a less than stellar setup, we have three amazing techs in-house that can do that work. So we're gonna make sure we get you a very, very playable guitar or bass in the shape that we're proud of selling you, and in shape that we can service after the sale. Whether that's a Affinity Series, $200 Fender acoustic, or a $20,000 Martin or Fender Custom Shop, whatever it is, right? And obviously you see more of those issues come up in the lower line stuff. I wish I had video of me opening these boxes. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't open these boxes. I wish I had video of me pulling these right off the wall downstairs. And actually, I did take this one out of the box because this one wasn't tuned, so that's a good example. I wish I had documented this. I literally just tuned it up. I have not touched the truss rod. I've not adjusted the pickup as far as the height, which is something to me, even more so, more times than not, I need to make an adjustment on the pickup, partially due to just how I play, and I play over the pickup. This was very even and a very nice playing bass. The maple neck, the maple board one here, which I'll show you more of in a second, was the same deal. That was on the floor, and it was just tuned up. I just pulled it off the rack, boom, and we're going. Like, I did nothing at all to these basses, I promise you. So some of the specs on these, right? And I know people are gonna say, oh, I can't believe they're putting a Fender branded Indonesian product out there now, but you have to keep in mind where that sits price point wise and some of the features that you get. $300 different from the Player II series. And if you're like me, and I always preach, oh, play whatever you like, oh, the gear doesn't matter. And in the grand scheme of things, the gear doesn't matter. That said, I'll never play a Squier live. I won't do it. Even if it's really, really good. And that's not saying it's not a good bass. That's more of a commentary on me being very superficial with that type of thing. And I know tons of people that do it and they sound great. I could sonically gig on a Squier. I just don't want the headstock to say it because I don't want to have the conversation that I need to justify it. So if you're like me and you find yourself not practicing what you preach in that case, which I'm calling myself out 100%, I won't play a bass that says Squier on it. I just won't even take it out of the house, right? To the point where when I bought a Classic Vibe back when I first started working here, I was like, oh, I'll relic this myself. I'll give you one guess as to how that really worked out. But the first thing I did was I took that Squier thing right off the headstock. So join the superficial club with me and buy a standard series bass so you can have something affordable, but it still says Fender on it. And no one in the audience is going to know any better. They're going to say, oh my God, he's playing a Fender, even though it's just in the all black. We might know. Us nerds in the industry or the gear forums might know, but that's it. So quick aside there, right? So let's get into some of the specs on it. Poplar body keeps the cost down, right? That's pretty similar to what we saw with the Squier stuff. With upgraded saddles, steel saddles on here, they have like the matte finish on it. That looks kind of cool, but that is an upgraded saddle. I just think a little bit more tuning stability, a little bit more, imparts a little bit more clarity sonically in it. Pickup wise, pretty interesting. So we go up into the Player II series. I believe that is some form of an Alnico pickup. Again, should have done the research. Wasn't ready for that. It's all right. Just like my wardrobe choice for the day. We're going to get through it. Classic Vibe. That's an Alnico 5 magnet. I know that. This is a ceramic magnet in this. I think that's a really, really good thing, and I'll explain why shortly. Volume, tone. This one's in 3-color sunburst, right? Now, it's not a rosewood board. It is an Indian Laurel board. What does that mean? Obviously, it keeps the cost down on it. I'll say this. One thing that I've been paying attention to a lot in the past year when I start thinking about specifically fretboard woods, but tone woods in general, this is the Janka scale. That's like a scale that you can measure the hardness of wood. Some of you might be, there's an awful joke in there. Brent, please don't cut that into a joke. But some of you might be familiar with that. But on the Janka scale, the Indian Laurel is like, I think it was 2340 was the number. Higher the number, the harder the wood. God. And Indian Rosewood was like 2350. So we're really, really talking about a wood that has tons of the same, a good starting point for some of the same tonal characteristics. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, Laurel's just as good as Rosewood or Rosewoods. It's exactly the same thing. Why use Rosewood? That's not it. But what I'm saying is, at something at this price point, you're getting a good sounding wood that I think is going to behave much more like Rosewood than say a Pal Faro is gonna behave like Rosewood tonally. Immature humor aside, we're on to maple neck, modern C on it. Modern P-base spacing, so inch 1.652 nut width up there. They did a nice thing here, kept a little bit of weight off of this too, because Poplar is a light body. The footprint on these tuners is a little bit slimmer on the back, and the shape is ever so slightly smaller than what we were seeing on the Classic Vibe thing. So a little bit more of a modern touch on the tuner. And someone yelled at me in one of my last YouTube videos. I don't know if they were yelling, but I read it as yelling because, I mean, the internet, right? And they said, why don't you show the backs of the guitars? And there's a really, really good reason why I don't show the backs of the guitars, and that's because I forget to do it. So I'm not forgetting to do it here to Mr. whoever commented on that. You're welcome. The back looks nice, right? Let's get into some sonic things going on there too. And I'll go back to that Alnico. I think the Alnico pickup in this is nice because it's not doing anything the classic vibe does. It's not doing, so you have these upgrades as far, oh, it's a satin finish on the neck too, which is cool, rather than gloss that you saw on the classic vibe. So I think there is a different enough pickup in it that separates it from classic vibe and Player II. So that sits in its own sort of lane sonically, having the ceramic magnet in that. Also, with the modern C shape and the satin finish, now we have these things that like approach a nicer instrument, and that separates itself from the classic vibe, right? So feel and sound, I think it really does. And let's not forget what we're all, I mean, I don't care who you are, we all are looking at price. I think it's coming in at a price point that makes sense for what you're getting. And you're getting a very functional P bass, at least the two that I've played at this point. Again, 3-tone sunburst. This one's in Olympic white. I'll show this to you real quick here. With the black guard. It's a nice looking instrument. The strats come with a white guard, a stark white on that, which looks cool too. Always love Olympic white though. So we'll see what's better for you. Do you want to get with the Laurel? Do you want to get with the Maple, right? I think I have a pretty good idea of who that fits player profile wise, but let's hear it and we'll kind of talk through some of that stuff. So Laurel fretboard, full volume, full tone. We'll go back and forth here. All right, so straight volume all the way up, tone all the way up. I mean, both basses performed well. And we're gonna do some more videos and comparing this to other lines because I think they're gonna hold their own pretty well with just about anything else hovering around this price point, right? Even maybe more. But man, and the ceramic pickup, the clarity and kind of that, I think what some people misinterpret sometimes is like upper end clang and like a brittleness to ceramic pickups. And I've definitely heard that in like the Music Man style pickup, where you have this really, really hot pickup. These on the multimeter, I put just this one on last night. I didn't do all of them. They came in at like mid 8s on the multimeter. You pair that up with the ceramic magnet in that, and I think you end up in a probably the equivalent output-wise of like a low 9s Alnico magnet in that. I think like the overall output from an amp, I just basing that really off of nothing, just some experience. But I think that's a good pickup in this line because it allows you to get that, and you definitely heard it. I heard it in here. Hopefully you heard it. That upper end brightness that you expect out of Maple and that warmth. I think it's slightly warmer than Rosewood, the Laurel is, and the Janka scale, the number on that would tell me it would be ever so slightly softer than Rosewood, if I remember that correctly, which kind of makes sense. That was like a slightly more rounded Rosewood on it. So what's nice with this ceramic pickup is that the clarity of that ceramic magnet, gives you a really good look into what each fretboard can do. So make the right decision on that. If you want that upper end bark and character, which I tend to like out of a P pickup, roll with the Maple. I think that's a really nice place to be. If you just want that more rounded off sound, maybe if you play more with a pick, then maybe the Rosewood's nice because you're gonna pull some, or I said it again, Rosewood. Brent's already edited this out. Trust me, by the time you've seen this, you've probably seen 10 edits of me saying Rosewood. The Laurel fretboard, it just looks so much like Rosewood. It's shocking. But the Laurel fretboard might be better for that style of playing. But you make a decision. Hopefully this video can help kind of guide you through that. So let's go back to the Laurel fretboard, and we're gonna roll some tone off on that. Back with the Laurel fretboard that looks like Rosewood and sounds a lot like Rosewood. I'll say it again, I'm sure. We'll roll some tone back about 70. See that? The softness of that wood, that tone knob, something to watch out for here, that darkens up very quickly. That's like max brightness right there, right? And I'm rolling this back to 85. And that still is kind of where I would think a 75 would be. It's rolling off very, very quickly there. All right, we'll roll with that. Little finger style, we'll get some palm muting, we'll play with the pick a little bit on that. sorry for the extra noise there. You know me and my ghost notes. I'm slapping on that pickup. I have noticed that with this. These are very sensitive to, you know, obviously anytime the string hits it, but ceramic magnets have always, to me, not necessarily benefited me as a player. I like the sound of them. I'm such an aggressive, especially when playing solo, like ghost note player, that a lot of times that whole thing, I just hit right on the pickup. So I apologize for the noise out there. That's not a flaw in the instrument, much more a flaw in my playing here. But as I thought, there's just a stark difference on that top end that with a pick, I really love the way the Laurel is sounding. To me, I love the way the Laurel is sounding because it's taming just a little bit of those highs that you're getting from it. I'm gonna switch back over to this. We're gonna play a little bit of overdrive and then we'll wrap this thing up. All right, back with the Laurel fretboard. Why not show a little bit of overdrive on it? Fender Rumble, playing through the 200, SM94 in the front, direct line. Should have said this at the beginning of the video. About a 70-30 split direct to mic'd. And the overdrive in a Rumble's, I think, always pretty cool. So let's see how each fretboard wood kind of reacts to that. So a wide range of playing styles, some better than others. Overdrive really, I think, puts these basses into, in my eyes, a good light. I would sell these confidently to any customer that was looking to, their first kind of jump into a Fender branded instrument. I think it holds its own, certainly with the Player II series. Although the Player II series, I think if I had to, I was thinking of words while playing, which is probably not the most efficient way or effective way of playing, is to be thinking of other things. But I was thinking of like ways to kind of describe it to me. And I always think of the term refinement as we move up the Fender lineup. It doesn't necessarily mean something lower price is bad. I mean, God, I played that, remember, you might have saw the video. If not, it's on our YouTube page. I did that Squier Affinity 6-string bass, and like, it was a cool bass, at like $300, right? But as we move up in the price points, and this is just one, kind of trolley stop on the track there, that like, there's just more levels of refinement as you go up. Doesn't mean you couldn't have really, really good results with a bass like this at $599. You get something that, again, says Fender on it. It's got a solid pickup in it. I go back to that term refinement. The ceramic magnets are never going to be the most refined and rich sound. That's okay. Some of the flaws in it, if it's a little too bright for you, turn your amp down, turn the EQ on your amp down on the treble side of it. There's ways with pedals. But impressive instrument right out of the box. Again, I wish I filmed this. I did nothing but tune up these instruments. And in fact, the white one was already tuned up, so I really just tuned up the 3-color Sunburst. We were rocking and rolling on it. So the Fender new Standard Series P basses, Maple neck or Maple fretboard, Laurel fretboard, looks like rosewood. I've said rosewood many times. It sounds a lot like rosewood. It feels a lot like rosewood too. And I think if you fact check that Janko hardness, you will agree on some of the specs of it being very, very close to rosewood. So cool instruments. If you have any questions at all, give me a call at the shop, 412-343-5299. You can email me directly to anthony@empiremusic.com. Keep in mind, we always do a full factory setup. We're very hands-on here. You call me, I go grab your bass, I take it down to our tech, I play it, our tech plays it, we set it up the factory spec, we play it again, then we ship it out to you. So we make sure that you get an instrument that's going to play very, very nice, regardless of price point, like I said at the beginning of the video. Yeah, anything you need, please reach out. Thanks for watching.